誰じゃね君は。
俺はヒーローをやっているものだ。連続普通のパンチ。必殺マジシリーズマジ殴り。
Want to be the ultimate fiery demon? Have the ability to burst everything down in a fire explosion, adding necrotic damage like a possessed god of fire and death. I really wanted to make a build that really utilizes fire and necrotic damage to its absolute limit, bursting targets down in a matter of seconds, only to move to the next one until everything around you is dead in a single turn. A type of build that stacks so much elemental damage while exploiting the low life mechanics of Baldur's Gate 3. Plus, the build is perfect if you're someone who wants to use those soul coins that you've collected from Karlach. This build is one of the burstiest physical/elemental attackers that I've ever designed, and I could argue it's the fiery evolution of my destroyer build from a year ago. My previous destroyer build focuses on stacking necrotic damage to insane degree in order to burst down your targets as quickly as possible, while repositioning itself to a safe location, sort of like a run and gun playstyle. But for this build, it just takes it to even more insane degrees, mowing down everything without a care in the world, even at low life. With the release of the new subclasses of patch 8 comes the majestic Oath of the Crown Paladin as our base class. This noble subclass will provide that needed proficiency bonus for our attacks. As a melee attacker, this will ensure our fist will directly connect to our target's faces without worries using the Righteous Clarity action. This new ability will provide us attack proficiency bonuses for 10 turns to further add to that damage of our attacks. We're also going to be using the Bless to give us that 1d4 bonus for 10 turns as well. Stacking those buffs will really come in handy when we add this burst monster of a class, which is the Open Hand Monk. The Way of the Open Hand is ridiculously potent. Using the Flurry of Blows, this'll just cost us a bonus action and a key point. What makes this ability insane is the numerous variation of the Flurry of Blows, such as the topple version that can prone your targets for 1 turn. Not to mention, you'll also get access to stunning strikes, which can further CC your opponents for 2 turns. Having access to 2 of the strongest debuffs in the game in a single build is just insane. On top of that, this build is also a burst maniac, so it's just gonna get so much better. In order to burst down our opponents, we're gonna be solving this problem of our bonus actions using the low life mechanics of the game with the use of the Helm of Grit. This amazing helmet will give us a free bonus action provided that our HP is 50% or less. This will go really well with our soul coin mechanic from Karlach that really loves getting low life. This is because of the soul coin's infernal fury ability that will let us gain 1 to 4 fire damage when we are below 25% HP. If you're worried about the build dying, it actually doesn't matter. Aside from this build's high AC, we're also going to use the Gloves of Soul Catching, which will provide us the Soul Fist passive. This will add another 1d10 force damage to our unarmed attacks, and the amazing Soul Catching passive that will let us heal 10 HP per turn. Or maybe if you don't want to add that HP, we can actually add +5 bonus to our attacks at the end of that turn. The healing from the gloves doesn't cost any action, so we can actually heal ourselves anytime that we want. Not to mention, we have access to the Wholeness of Body from the Monk, which will restore half of our key points, add another bonus action, letting us a total of 3 bonus actions for this build for 3 turns. To make this ability even sweeter, it also heals us for 25 HP when used. With all that self-healing, the amount of safety mechanics we can use to keep us literally at low life is just next level. We're no longer your typical punching master. The build now transforms into a demon of destruction in perpetual state of low life. To make the build even sweeter, we can also scale this build using different feats like the Tavern Brawler that will scale our strength and the Kushigo boots that will scale our wisdom on top of our Blazing Fist. Now all that's left is to push the build into a broken tier. So we're just gonna introduce the perfect build to cap off this monster using the Circle of the Spores Druid ability. I'm talking about a symbiotic entity here. This will provide us 8 temporary hit points and that sweet 1d6 necrotic damage to our unarmed attacks. Now to add more fire to our fiery fist, we will be introducing the heat condition mechanic using our weapons. Weapons like the thermodynamo axe. When we deal damage with this weapon, we will be gaining 2 heat charges. Heat is actually a toggleable passive that we can spend to deal more fire damage to our spells and attacks using the heat convergence ability. I haven't even mentioned the oil combustion weapon coatings that will also add that 3d6 fire damage when we hit our old targets. With all those damage values combined, you can only imagine how quickly your target's HP disappears in a single strike. Now let's just complete all of the items that we need to make this fiery beast. Starting with the helmet will be the Helm of Grit for the headpiece. This will provide that bonus action when we are 50% or lower on HP. Cloak of Protection for that +1 AC in saving throw. Helda's Armor for more fire resistances and immunity to burning. Gloves will be the Gloves of Soul Catching for that extra force damage. And the Soul Catching passive that will heal us whenever we want. Boots will be the Uninhibited Kushigo for that wisdom scaling to our attacks. Amulet of Greater Health for max constitution, Callous Glow Ring for additional radiant damage, and Ring of Protection for +1 AC in our saving throw. Main hand weapon will be the Thermodynamo Axe that I mentioned earlier to get that heat stacks. And finally, a shield that you can get your hands on. I'll just go with the Vonicus Fortress for this example. With all those items present, your gear will most likely look like this. The Infernal Demon build is now complete, ready to burn and destroy your foes like they're nothing. Now, let's jump into how we create this build. We're gonna start off with the races. For the origin characters, the most perfect character to use this build is Karlach, but if you're gonna go custom race, you can go any race that you prefer for as long as you are happy with that race. For the sake of players who want to min-max everything, you can get the Tiefling or the Dragonborn as your primary race. For the Dragonborn, we're gonna grab the sub-race, the Red Dragon. This will give us a free action, which is the Fire Breath. We also have access to the Draconic Ancestry. This will give us resistances to fire damage. For the Tiefling, is basically the same. We will have access to Dark Vision as well as Hellish Resistance. This will increase our overall fire resistances. For today's build, we're just gonna go with the Tiefling. As for the sub-race, is whatever you prefer. I'll just go with Zerial Tiefling. As for our starting class will be the Paladin. Because of the subclass Oath of the Crown, we will now have access to Righteous Clarity. This will provide us with attack roll proficiencies for 10 turns. Abilities will most likely look like this. We'll be prioritizing Dexterity, Wisdom, and Strength for this build. Before having access to the Tavern Brawler, you can prioritize Dexterity, Constitution, and Wisdom and put some points in Constitution. Right after having access to the Amulet of Greater Health, you can respec and remove Constitution and put all of those points into Strength. Jumping into progression at level 2 of our Paladin, we will now have access to a really nice fighting style that will further augment our build. We will now grab the defense and this will increase our AC by 1. I'll also have access to a couple of smites and other prepared spells that are really nice for the build, such as the Bless. This will give us bonus attack rolls and saving throws for 10 turns. Level 3 of our character, we will now introduce our second multi-class of the build in the form of the Druid. We will just grab the Druid as early as possible so that we can have some really nice buffs for our character. For the spells, grab any transmutation spell that you prefer, such as Enhanced Sleep as well as Long Strider. Level 4 of our character, level 2 of our Druid, we will now have access to our specialization, which will be the Circle of the Spores. We will now have access to the action Symbiotic Entity. This will provide us 1 to 6 necrotic damage on our unarmed attacks. Spells is whatever you prefer. I'll just go with whatever I have here, or maybe just swap it out with a couple of heals. Now level 5 of our character, we will now jump into our final multi-class of the build and we will just focus on this to the end of our leveling process, which will be the Monk. For the Monk, we will have access to the Fury of Blows. We can now punch our enemies twice in quick succession. Level 6 of our character, focusing on the Monk, we will now have access to some useful abilities such as the Patient Defense, Step of the Wind Dash, and Step of the Wind Disengage. Level 7 of our character, level 3 of the Monk, we will now have access to our specialization, which will be our Way of the Open Hand. We will now have access to the variations of the Fury of Blows Topple, Stagger, as well as Push. Level 8 of our character, focusing on the Monk level 4, we will now have access to a class feature which is Slow Fall. We will gain falling resistances and our first feat of the build. We will now get Dexterity and put it up to 19. And with the help of the hair from Anti-Ethel, we will now push it up to 20. Level 9 of our character, and which is level 5 of our Monk, we will now have access to our extra attack as well as some really nice stunning melee strikes, melee, and stunning strike unarmed. We can now stun our targets for 1 turn, which is really powerful. Level 10 of our character, level 6 of the Monk, we will now have access to some really nice subclass feature that will further increase our bursting capabilities, such as Manifestation of the Body. We can select from Necrotic, Psychic, and Radiant as an additional damage to our unarmed attacks. Another really useful thing here is the Wholeness of Body. We can regain our key points whenever we run out, as well as providing additional bonus action for 3 turns. Level 11 of our character, focusing on the Monk, some really nice class features such as an additional key point and an evasion. This will provide us more proficiencies in our saving throws using our dexterity. Finally, level 12 of our character, most likely you will now have access to the Amulet of Greater Health with this one. And this is a perfect timing because our feat will be the Tavern Brawler. Tavern Brawler will scale up our unarmed attacks with our strength modifier for as long as it is not higher than our dexterity, so our strength will now be 16. Now it's time for our live combat simulation in order for me to show you guys how ridiculously powerful this low life infernal demon build is. This is the way to go if you're going to be playing with Karlach, just because of her ability to use the soul coins. Speaking of soul coins, now we're going to start off with the setup, so we're just going to use the soul coins for ourselves. So if you guys who don't know what are the use of the soul coins, we're gonna have the Infernal Fury condition, that is for Karlach. Unarmed attacks deal additional 1 to 4 fire damage when our HP is below 25%. The next ability that we're gonna be using is Symbiotic Entity to give more necrotic damage to our unarmed attacks. Right after that, we're gonna pop in our potion, which is the Elixir of Bloodlust. This will let us gain 5 temporary hit points in additional actions whenever we kill an opponent. What's really cool about this is this goes really well with the Symbiotic Entity because once an enemy dies, it also tops off our temporary HP that we get from the Symbiotic Entity. Really great synergy there. Soon after setting that up, we're gonna be using Bless to increase our attack rolls and saving throws by 1. So we're just gonna target ourselves and like so. After that, then increase our proficiency of our attack rolls some more with our Righteous Clarity, and finish up with our weapon buff, which is the Oil of Combustion. This will go really well with our really nice weapon that will add more heat stacks to our build. That being said, our build is now complete and ready to rock and obliterate our opponents. As usual, we're gonna open up with the most powerful skill that we have, which is the Fury of Blows Topple. We can actually prone our opponents using this ability, so let's start it. Use a crit for a good measure, like that. Boss is up. It's gonna try to run away and let us attack this one so that we can get more heat stacks that we can use later on. We can also follow up with a Divide Smite to just eliminate that boss, but we'll just use the level 1 for this turn. Now it's our turn to move once again, and we're gonna move into the boss as close as possible. And after that, if you notice, we have heat convergence. We just got a couple of stacks of heat because of the reaction attacks that we did with our weapon. This will add us more damage with fire with this one. And the Oil of Combustion debuff is on this boss right here. Once the fire damage connects, that target will explode in a fiery fashion. Naturally, we're going to be using Fury of Blows to eliminate this target right here. Now you see the more fire damage. The enemy at the side just got 13 additional damage of fire. Right after that, we can use our normal attack to get more fire stacks. Not going to be using Smite for that turn because I'm going to be using my Heat Convergence and stun this enemy right here. Get more fire damage, explosion, really nice one there. Finish her up. Now she's dead. We can now end our turn with more heat stacks for the next turn. like this. Now it's our turn once again to attack. So I'll just use one normal attack to get more heat stacks and stack that oil combustion debuff. We can also be using a Divine Smite for this turn because just for the sake of it, to add more radiant damage. Right after that is use Heat Convergence, activate Fury Blow's Topple, and try to burst down this target. Now she's dead. Explosion happened. Rinse and repeat now to another target right here. Attack that. Use a Divine Smite. After that, use Heat Conversions. Another set of Fury Blow's Topple. He's dead. Move to another target. Attack this one. Maybe use... not use Divine Smite for this turn. Use a Stunning Strike just for the sake of it to stun this foe right here. Add an explosion, and we can end our turn with 2 stacks of fire. This build is ridiculously powerful as a low life build. Has so many measures of healing itself. A really great example, if you guys take damage, you can just use the Soul Snare from our gloves whenever we hit our targets. So every turn, we have a chance to heal ourselves by 10 points. I'm not going to be using it here because we just need the low life. But you have some really nice avenues for you to heal back up a little bit for you to not get one-tapped by your opponent. So you also have a really nice wholeness of body here that will also grant you additional bonus action if ever you hit your opponents, and also replenishes our key points. So for now, this turn, we're just gonna finish up with this opponent with a normal attack. And after that is move into this target right here. I think we can burst him down using just our Fury Blow's Topple. Now he's dead. After that is move to another target. Maybe use a melee attack. Follow up with Heat Convergence for more fire damage. Use that like so. And that's all she wrote for the build. Would love to know what you guys think. Or do you guys have any suggestions to make the build much more powerful? Would love to know all about it in the comments below. Shout out to all the people who subscribe and keep supporting the channel. I really appreciate you guys for all the support. And for all the people who haven't subscribed yet, thank you for watching my videos, and I hope I earn your subscriptions in the future. But if you earn it today, please don't hesitate to hit that subscribe button. If you guys love build crafting, modding, or interacting with the best community in Baldur's Gate 3, we actually have a Discord and would love to see you there. For more RPG news, builds, and mods, keep it here in this channel. Finally, that's it for me. Up to you soon. The next Master Box Show. Peace out. Bye guys.